Welcome back to the Chad Hasty Show on News Talk 95.1 FM and 790 AM KFYO. President Trump has just landed in Dayton, Ohio. He'll be traveling to El Paso a little bit later on today. Joining us on the phones to discuss President Trump and the reaction and I guess you could say ideas maybe coming out of the White House over the last couple of days. The National Press Secretary for the Trump 2020 campaign. We've visited with her many times. Always a pleasure to do so. Kayleigh McEnany here on the Chad Hasty Show. Kayleigh, welcome back to the show. How are you today?
Hey, I'm doing great. Great to join you as always.
Yeah, it's great to have you on. Obviously, this is usually when we have you on, it's we're always talking about politics and everything. You still have obviously a lot of attention on the mass shootings that occurred over the weekend in Dayton, Ohio, and in El Paso. Talk to us a little bit about the president's reaction and his ideas for addressing mass shootings in America.
Yeah, well, it's important to note, first of all, leading up to these horrifying events, that the president was already concerned about this issue. It's why he passed the Fix NICS Act, which fixed our criminal background check system, strengthens it, closes some of the loopholes. He passed the School Safety Act, which gives money to schools to make sure that they have hardened and safe facilities. And he banned bump stocks. So that was all important that he did. And then in the wake of this horrible tragedy, the president, like the rest of us, grieved and mourned, and then came up with solutions while the rest of the media and the left decided to politicize this and blame the president for this, which is so bizarre and uncalled for. The president took the high road. He condemned hatred and white supremacy and then went on to say, look, I have more solutions. Those solutions include red flag laws. Those solutions include addressing the video games and the social media aspect of this and making sure the death penalty is a remedy or an available response to these mass shooters. So, this president has taken this seriously. I cannot say the same for the left.
Kayleigh, when it comes to red flag laws, and we've been talking about this here on the show, and I know you wrote a piece for Fox News saying that it had about 85% support throughout the nation. There's still a lot of folks out there who don't like red flag laws, and they worry that red flag laws could lead to gun confiscation in the future. What would you say to those people, and how open is the president to red flag laws?
Well, first I would say we have a Second Amendment. We have a right to bear arms in this country that is protected, that is safeguarded, and that is available to law-abiding citizens. When you look at red flag laws, it's really important to consider the facts. There was a Secret Service study and a Department of Education study, and they found that 93% of these perpetrators of violence at schools in particular demonstrate behavioral red flags in advance, and shockingly, 81% actually tell someone about their plans. Say, I am going to shoot up a school, which is exactly what happened in Parkland, where the individual said, I will be a school shooter. I think we can all agree that that individual does not deserve a weapon. And if someone in the community has had an articulated threat said to them of that nature, they should be able to go to a court. And of course, it has to be limited to law enforcement who can petition a court or a family member that can petition a court. But that individual shouldn't have a weapon. And these laws would save lives. Of course, it's important to respect the constitutional rights of law-abiding citizens, but there's a happy balance that we can find, which is why these laws do have a lot of overwhelming support nationwide. Even among gun owners, I would note 81% support it.
Is this where the devil gets into the details and the president's just not going to sign off on anything that Congress sends them, that the president wants to make sure that there are safety measures in a red flag law, a federal red flag law?
Absolutely. The president hasn't articulated exactly how that would look just yet, and the details. A lot of this rests in state control. So a federal law would really just incentivize states to pass these. The details really do rest with each and every state. But you have to find the balance, of course, between protecting constitutional rights and ensuring safety for law-abiding citizens across the nation and keeping these guns out of the hands of mass shooters. So there is a balance, and you're exactly right that the devil is in the details.
Kayleigh, and again, I know you're not sitting in on every single meeting that Congress is having, but what are you hearing as far as when it comes to high-capacity magazines? I know the president this morning outside of the Oval Office, he said that there's not an appetite to ban any guns, that there's not that appetite there. But what about, and this is a question that I get all the time, Kayleigh, high-capacity magazines, is that on the table?
Well, this is, I follow the president, echo the president in this, and you just mentioned some of his comments this morning. The problem is when we talk about banning a specific type of weapon, you're really kind of getting away from the root of the problem. You look at France, who has some of the strictest gun laws in the entire world. There they ban what they call, quote, military-grade weapons, and yet several attacks have been perpetrated in France with those very weapons that are banned under French law. The Charlie Hebdo attack is one example. There are many, many others. And, why that happens is because when you ban a certain type of weapon, a black market is created, and the individuals who don't want getting their hands on the weapons are the ones who seek those out. So, when you start talking about banning types of weapons, you start getting away from really fixing the problem like we could do with these red flag laws.
Kayleigh, I know we don't want to get too political, but I got to ask you about something that happened yesterday. A congressman, Joaquin Castro, his brother's running for president, polling at about 1%, tweeted out an image, I guess, or his congressional office, his campaign maybe, tweeted out an image, and it was the names of Trump campaign donors in the San Antonio area, and the Twitter post came with basically saying these people are contributing to hate and bigotry and racism in America. How did you feel about that?
Yeah, it was completely wrong. We live in an environment, especially on social media, where there are crazy people who do go beyond the bounds of civil discourse and can turn threats that are leveled online into violence, and we've seen that play out. And to put out the names, put out a list of Trump campaign donors, where they work, and for this to come from a chairman of a sitting presidential campaign is absolutely despicable. It puts a target on them, in the least for harassment, in the worst for some sort of violence, whether that was his intent or not. When you put out a list, essentially targeting these individuals, it's very scary. It's uncalled for, and what makes it worse is this is also a sitting congressman doing this, and these are his constituents who he's supposed to protect and represent in Congress. So we were appalled to see that. And it's amazing that list is still out there and there's no apologies. Yeah.
Kayleigh, before I let you go, how do you think the president will be received in El Paso today?
Oh, I think he'll be received well. The president, I visit with him often one-on-one at the rallies on Air Force One, and I've seen him interact with, Americans across the country, and this is someone who cares deeply about Americans generally, and certainly Americans who are hurt and who are mourning. So I have no doubt he will be the consoler-in-chief, and he will help this community get through what is just an unspeakable tragedy.
Yeah, I think it's just, to be honest, pretty despicable what former Congressman, presidential candidate Beto O'Rourke has been saying. And then the national news media, Kayleigh, just about every single headline I read, Trump isn't welcome, Trump isn't welcome. And I can't imagine any newspaper running with that under former President Barack Obama.
No, they wouldn't. There's two standards. When, there's these violent attacks that the perpetrator ascribes or claims to support a left-wing candidate, as in the case of Dayton, where the shooter supported Elizabeth Warren, or, you look at the attack on an ICE facility where they echoed the same language as AOC. We don't blame the politician. We don't blame the political figure. We blame the perpetrator. But unfortunately, when the table is turned, we see the left completely politicize what should not be political.
Yeah. Kayleigh McEnany, the National Press Secretary for Trump 2020 campaign. I know we'll visit in the future. It's always a pleasure having you on the show, and we hope you have a great day.
Sounds great. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. That's Kayleigh McEnany here on the Chad Hasty Show. News Talk KFYO.